Hi. Have you ever felt successful on the outside, but not felt so successful on the inside? Today, we're here to talk with Susanne Biro, world renowned leadership coach and a new author. And we're going to talk about how to fix it today with her. So, hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I like to get this out of the way early so everybody can hear it. Uh, why should people listen to you today?
Yeah, it's a great question. For the last 25 years, I have spent the majority of my days listening to the inner thoughts, concerns, frustrations, aspirations, challenges of literally at this point thousands of senior level leaders, some of our world's best and brightest. And so I know the inner life experience of some of our world's top leaders in a way that few others could. And so I have hopefully, some insight to share anyone that's listening today that can serve and advance each of them.
Yeah, I know we really couldn't share that on here, but if people knew what your client roster looked like over time, they'd be pretty impressed with it. I do know that.
Mm.
So tell me a little bit about your approach to coaching senior leaders. Like, what have you learned throughout that process of coaching everyone? And I know some of that's in the book, but we'll talk about the book in a moment.
Yeah, gosh, what haven't I learned? I'm so impressed with the dedication, the commitment, the care that I see in the clients I have the honor to work with. I mean, these are people who have invested heavily to rise to positions of power, and they lead with great intention, a desire to serve. They've worked incredibly hard, blood, sweat, and tears to do so. And of course, as we have each dived into our field, it doesn't mean that we've also had the opportunity to really learn about ourselves and understand how some of our early experiences changed us, and how they still kind of limit us today. And so I get to connect with very successful men and women and bring that piece to the table so that they can lead most effectively, and they can be the kind of person and leader that they most want and intend to be. I think most of us are surprised when we get some sort of feedback, and we don't really understand sometimes the feedback. And so I'm able to help translate that so that they can go out there and do the work of their lives. So what have I learned? I've learned that we all have a role to play in helping each other perform, and we can all see each other in a way we can never see ourselves. And so I think we're meant to uplift each other and provide useful feedback in a loving, clear way so that we can all perform for each other, which is ultimately what we want to do.
I saw a LinkedIn post from you the other day, and you had mentioned in the LinkedIn post, and I loved that what you said. You said somebody had mentioned coaching is this and coaching is that, and your response to them was, "That's not how I view coaching. That's not what I see coaching as." So a lot of people think coaching is advice, right? Like you go out on a football field and you're coaching somebody how to play a specific position. Um, how does that differ from what you think coaching is?
Yeah, the sports analogy is one that's often used, and it has some consistencies. We want to coach and develop our team, our players on the field. We're able to see, hopefully we played the game ourselves, or we can see the field in a way they can't. So we can say, come off over here. What the hell are you doing out there? And give some feedback. We might coach another player differently. So the sports analogy works up to a point, but I mean, I don't give advice. I've never given advice. I don't have the slightest clue of what my client should do. I barely know what I should do. But I think it's in the process of conversation, structured conversation in a confidential setting for a senior level leader who maybe doesn't have a place where they can speak freely quite anywhere. Here's a place, an hour that's all about them, what's concerning them, what's ahead for them, how they want to handle something. And so it's structured time for them to hear themselves think with a committed, unbiased partner, hear themselves say some things maybe they didn't know they knew. And because I see, or any executive coach would see inside dozens of organizations every year, we can bring benchmarking sort of insight or tools, or we can challenge assumptions because we are external in a way that's very, very useful. And so it's like, let's pluck you out of the business to look at, one, how are you? what's ahead for you, what do you need, and so we can suit you up so by the time you hang up, you're really focused and clear and following on through on things that maybe you knew you needed to act on, but it wasn't quite top of mind.
I have to say, even as an executive myself, and you and I have had this conversation in the past, is that question, "How are you?" is something that executives don't get to answer very often. So it's terrific to have somebody to ask that question and then be able to just say whatever needs to be said. Right? It's a good thing. So that's a great segue, actually, because that's what this book is all about. That's what it is. And the book is "This Could Be Everything." I'm ashamed today because I left my copy on my nightstand at home. Would you share yours? There it is. It's a beautiful book. I love the colors. I love the choice of the mountain. Everything about it feels tranquil to me, which is one of the things that I know you stand for. So, why did you write this book?
Well, first of all, shout out to Wesley Bryant, who designed the cover, because I thought it was stunning too. Why I wrote the book. I've been doing the work that I've been doing, coaching leaders for 25 years. About 3 years ago, I sought out to create an app and then write the book version of the app. Simply because I wanted to help more people than I can only work with a handful of CEOs every year. And I feel like I have so much insight at this point that could really help so many people. And so I wanted a way, either digitally or in a book format, to be able to have the tools, the big ideas scale and help more people. So that was a 3-year journey. I'd love to say it was a lovely journey, but if you've ever tried to write a book, which I know you're a writer too, it's a very painful process to bring, all of this into something very concise and usable. And I wanted a book that was nothing more, nothing less than I thought that would really serve the reader in the shortest amount of time.
It's terrific. Well, I'm glad you did write it, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's on my nightstand right now. Um,
It's
so
awesome.
let's talk about the book a little bit. So you open with the idea that people can look successful but not feel how they hoped. I know, well, I shouldn't say I know, but many executives have felt that way. I do know that, including me. So what is it that creates that gap?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I feel like so many of the world's most powerful, wealthy, successful people don't feel successful. Maybe what creates that gap is just, um, really driven, smart, successful people. Our minds are thinking so fast, and there's so much we want to do and accomplish. So we've got big goals, big dreams, things we want to achieve. And so we're kind of haunted by those in many ways, and they drive us to succeed, and all of that's wonderful. But at some point, I think it starts to become unfulfilling, and we go like, when do I get to arrive? Like it's just one big damn thing after another. And I think it's for me personally sad that so many of our best and brightest don't feel successful,
Mhm.
or are able to really enjoy the success that they've worked so hard to create. So I simply want to add that piece back in. And it comes by how we choose to process life, because adult life and leadership really only brings problems, and so at some point we need to decide, what relationship do I want to have with life? As these life events happen, personally, divorce, illness, death, we're getting older, all these things we know are the reality of a human life. And then of course, if we lead at a senior leadership level, I mean, every problem that people can't solve lands on our desk,
Mhm.
and we're meant to somehow solve it. So it's just a whole bunch of problems out there. And so if we don't decide how we are going to, process life so that we can enjoy it, so that we then have the inner capacity to deal with all the people that need to draw upon us and the big problems that arise, we will become, frustrated, resentful, angry, usually not very good with other people. So part of our work is really to, decide, who do I most want and need to be, and how am I going to become that person, so that when I interact or walk into the organization, I can be available for others. Because most of the time, if you're leading or you're a parent or an adult, people are drawing upon you.
Mhm.
They want and need things from you: validation, recognition, coaching, feedback, answers, etc. And so very few people are going to feed you. And so I think it's our job to feed ourselves so that we can come to, again, the organization, our team, and really focus on who needs me. What do they need? How do I serve these people and allow them to do the work of their lives?
This is so I was having a conversation with a friend about this just a couple of days ago, and specifically about your book. And the person said to me, "Well, that sounds like imposter syndrome to me." And two things from that: one, I knew that I didn't do a very good job of explaining what I was trying to explain. But I know there's probably some people right now watching this going, imposters, that they're just feeling imposter syndrome. This is very different than that, though. So tell me, how do those things? How is that different, imposter syndrome, from what you're describing?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not all that different. I mean, imposter syndrome, I think most of us feel it, like, the idea if someone knew how little I know, they'd come in here and fire me today. I think when we're leading, especially today, I mean, we are leading through an unprecedented time of like change, technological advancement. The amount of information coming at each of us is overwhelming. And the changes that we're meant to lead when we're not even sure what they are. I mean, it's never happened in human history at this speed.
Mhm.
So if we're feeling overwhelmed by it, that would be normal. I think it's balancing both. I mean, I remember years ago I read Howard Schultz's book, Pour Your Heart Into It. Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, as he grew
Starbucks.
it. And he said, at any one point in time, I can have an abundance of conviction in our vision and in the strategy and what I'm doing as, the chairman and CEO. Simultaneously, I can be overwhelmed with fear and concerns. So I think our job as leaders is to hold both those things.
Mhm.
So we might invite the imposter syndrome as, I don't, there's so much that you cannot know.
Mhm.
And we get comfortable with, okay, what's my decision making framework? How do I run it through that decision making framework? And then live with the consequences. And that's really the best that we can do.
Yeah, it's funny when you were describing the idea of you feeding others, leaders feeding others and needing to take time to feed themselves. It reminds me of the Shel Silverstein child's book, The Giving Tree, where there was a tree that just kept giving more and more and more until there was nothing left but a stump. And I often tell leaders that you don't want to end up as a stump, so I always give them that book and say, basically feed yourself.
Yes.
We in the book you talk about some common thought patterns that limit confidence and joy. I think maybe you just touched on some of them with your answer about the imposter syndrome issue, but tell me a little bit more about that aspect of the book.
Yeah, well, I'll cite, there's an organization called the Leadership Circle Organization. It has an incredible body of work and body of research that I think answers this well. Fear is underneath so much of what we do.
Mhm.
And what I think we want to do is, the ancient wisdom, know thyself. Where do I act from fear? And I think, Leadership Circle would say we are less effective as leaders to the extent that we try to overly control, protect, or comply. Comply, go along to get along because I'm afraid to rock the boat, afraid to have that difficult conversation. I'm in a meeting, everyone seems, the board's approved and everyone wants to move forward, but I have grave concerns. But then I think, well, who am I? Everyone's ready to move. Maybe they know something I don't. So there's a subtlety of where we don't quite trust ourselves. And I think if I do anything well, and what I'm hoping to do in the book is to get people to hear and trust and validate their own inner experience more than they do. Like something happens, and what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What do I believe is in the best interest of the people and the business at hand? And then watch, in what ways will I hold back from doing that out of, concern for looking foolish, asking a dumb question, who am I in this room? All kinds of things, and see if we can free ourselves up to be ourselves, to serve this conversation, this meeting, because I think a lot of us are holding back. information that we have a sense of. And so I think trusting ourselves more is part of the answer. We don't know the degree to which we can trust ourselves until we go to try. Like if I speak in that meeting, let me, do I recognize that, wow, that really was a dumb question and I just embarrassed myself. I'm proud that I asked it, but I really need to be thinking further ahead. That would be my own fee. Or I speak up and everyone goes, yes, I was thinking the same. Now we know to what degree I can trust my instincts and my own mind, as opposed to be overly influenced by the thoughts and voices of others.
That's great. So you were talking about asking the right questions. Tell me about the book and how the book talks about, and I know I'm asking you to condense a lot
Yeah.
into a small answer, but clarity and creativity are really important parts of leadership. And I don't see those as opposite ends of the spectrum. I think if you have clarity, you can be creative in the right direction. So, the whole saying, creativity loves constraints, that's where those two things come in. So tell me about how the book helps leaders access those things, clarity and creativity.
Yeah, I'll pick out two ways. One is I invite people to what's called a self-inquiry tool, SIT for short. And that is just bringing greater awareness to something happens. Again, you're in a meeting or a conversation, and to start to really know yourself. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Based on my thoughts and feelings, what do I want to do? And what would be the impact of that behavior? Then a build on the sort of self-awareness of the SIT tool is a tool called Real Conversations, the 5-question worksheet. And it's just a way for us to notice what's happening within us, so we can know what is the conversation that I need to have out there. The 5 questions are, what's happening, such that, a video recorder could record it. Like, what's the situation? He said this, I did this. What's occurring? What am I thinking and feeling? Why might I hold back from sharing what I'm thinking and feeling? What fears or concerns do I have? What do I really want to say and do? And if I'm going to have this conversation in any capacity, what would be my intention in having it? Like, how could it advance the relationship and or the business? And then once we answer those 5 questions, just a quick jot down, we could almost use our answers verbatim. Like, Brian, here's what's happening as I see it. Here's what I'm thinking and feeling. I'm confused, or I'm frustrated, or I don't know what's happening, or I thought a different decision was being made. Normally, I would hold back from this because I have such respect for you, Brian, that I think, well, Brian must know what he's doing, or he must have heard from marketing that this was approved. But I really want to make sure that you and I are successful, and so my intention of having is to make sure we're fully aligned. So the 5, we answer the 5 questions. It tells us what the real conversation is that we want and need to have with another or a group of people. Then we can take those answers and almost share them verbatim. And that is the conversation. It's the full conversation of what we really want to have. And it tends to be a very authentic conversation, a very transparent conversation. And that's the kind of conversation that we are asking of leaders now. Yeah. So the 2 tools, self-inquiry tool, or SIT for short, and the 5-question worksheet is a tool that I will teach executive groups because it's simply that useful. I use it myself.
Mhm. Yeah, what's interesting to me about that is that one of the things that I hear leaders complain about often is lack of alignment with those below them. Imagine the power of gaining that type of clarity from those 2 tools, and then using that as your alignment tool downward. You say, this is what I think, this is what I'm trying to get to, and now that I can show it to you almost verbatim, then you know exactly what I'm looking for and how to align with that. So that's it's quite
Yeah.
powerful.
Well, one of the things I feel some senior leaders are exceptional at having very direct and honest conversations, and some grew up in households where conflict and confrontation was really dangerous, and so we have a different relationship with it. So it's a really wonderful tool for those too who struggle to give any kind of delta feedback.
Mhm.
use that tool, it'll free you up to have the full conversation in a clear, kind, loving way that won't have you continue to be frustrated by a lack of performance.
Yeah, which is good. And by the way, I'm one of those people that grew up in a household where conflict was avoided at all costs. We were very, very nice family, and no screaming and yelling at each other for the most part. So I brought that with me forward into my professional life. Took me a long time to learn how to be very direct.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's the self-awareness we each need to have, is what informed us, and what have we learned through that process, and not to let it limit what we can do to serve people in the business.
Yes, I love back to Socrates, know thyself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a free for all question. So I've asked you several questions about the book, but what's one question I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
I'd love to leave everyone listening with something that they can take away and do, a very specific practice. And I think I'm going to go with daily morning practice. It's something I've shared with literally over 12 million people in the last couple of years, simply because over COVID, I delivered a lot of virtual keynotes and podcasts. And it sounds like a very simple thing, and it is. But I invite you to apply it for at least a month before you judge any of its effectiveness. So daily morning practice is simply this: is starting tomorrow, I want you to set aside 5 minutes. If it's useful, put a alarm on your phone. And I want you to write down, maybe you have a journal book that you like to write in. If not, just take out a piece of paper. And I want you to write down a sentence of, who do you want and need to be today? Who do you intend to be as you handle the 1,000,001 things required of you? Like, what kind of person and leader do you want to be? You might say, I want to be approachable. I want to be inspiring to my team. I want to be available. I want to be clear. Great. There's your intention for the day of who you want to be as you handle the 1,000,001 things required of you. Then for the remaining 5 minutes, I want you to write down as many good, exciting, inspiring thoughts as the day could hold for you if you would only let it. Like, what could you be excited about? What could you feel good about? Anything from, the fact that your family is well, that you're healthy, your loved ones are healthy, that you have the opportunity to work with and through people, that you have the opportunity for clean drinking water, food to eat, the opportunity to matter to people and to work on something cool. Write down as many as those as you can, 5 minutes. Then at least once during the day, take that out and just reread it. And you might do it at lunch while you eat lunch. Just refresh yourself. That's the practice. I simply want you to do that for a month. Do it every morning if you can. If you miss one, do it the next morning. It need not take a large amount of time, but I want you to notice, if you do it for a month, what has changed.
I love it because a lot of leaders get up every morning and create a to-do list. Some do it at night before they go to bed. Some do it in the morning when they get up. But what you're asking is to create a to-be list instead of a to-do list. And that sounds very, very powerful. So I'm going to accept your challenge personally.
And a to-feel list. Your day is going to be filled with a whole bunch of things that don't feel good, because that's what leadership is. A whole bunch of problems. And so I want you to connect yourself with what is working well, what is going right. Sometimes it's only a small thing. That's okay. Give it 90% of your attention for those 5 minutes. There are things that are working well right now. And I want you to give yourself feed yourself with that, because that will give you the capacity to deal with everything that's coming at you during the day.
Sounds good. I am going to put, you can see SusanneBiro.com on the screen right now. And it is your website. And for some reason, it just went away there. It's your website, and it's where a lot of this stuff is, right? And you talked a moment ago about you have an app, and you have some other things that people can get for free on your website. Not sure why it keeps disappearing, but SusanneBiro.com. So they can go there. Tell us what else they can find there if they go.
Yeah, if you find any of this useful, you can follow me on social media. You can read my blog. I have a podcast called the Deep Fear Podcast. You can listen in for free. The app is a small price and the book a small price. So lots of different ways you can access any and all of this information. What I try to do is share only information that I know is relevant because I'm in the conversations. And usually what I do is when I repeat myself with clients, I do a podcast episode or I write an article, or, I've compiled those into a book because I know that they're real and they're relevant and they're timely. So my aim is to offer you one big idea and a way to apply that idea so that it can make your work and your relationships better now, because we don't want to wait, some distant
Yes,
future. So I hope you
absolutely.
find those useful.
Yeah, and I know I've enjoyed. Well, I have the book obviously that we're talking about today, but I've enjoyed the podcast as well. It's been a lot of fun, and I had the app for quite a while actually
Oh, you did
too.
it. Oh,
So yes, it's good, and I enjoyed it. It's a very useful tool. So I encourage anybody watching, go check out SusanneBiro.com, and in the description of this, it said that if you watch this and watch till the end, I'd give you a bonus. And so here's the bonus. This is my email address, brian.howard@peopleist.com. And I happen to have 5 copies of Suzanne's book that I purchased myself. And I want to give those away to you, the viewers. So the first 5 people to email me with the subject line book and your mailing address, I will mail you these books or a book, not all of them. So first 5 people to email me, I'll send you the book. Just make sure to include book in the subject line and your address. Suzanne, it's been great having you today. I'll put your website back up as we go here, but thank you so much for sharing your time. You want to show your book one more time so that everybody can go out and buy it?
You know what I do want to do? I want to say thank you. What a consummate professional you are. Thank you. You're such a gracious professional and interviewer. This has been an honor.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And go buy Suzanne's book.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, everybody.